diina hedduudhaan marfamanii ba'aa baay'ee mataan baachaa harkaa fi miila nu sakaalanii ijaa fi gurras nu cuqqaalanii aduun lixxee dukkanooftu aadaa ofii dabarfachuu Oromoo koo waa isan dhaabu. Aadaa ofii dabarfachuu Oromoo koo waa isan dhaabu. Sila Oromoof kun hin malu garuu ta'ee utuu aaduu kunis sunis hunduu ta'ee aadaa Oromootu adda ta'ee adda addummaa keessatti illee adda isaa akka addeessaa dachaa kudhan ibsee tokkummaa isaa jabeeffatee utuu diinni boolla qotuu aadaa isaa dhalootatti dabarfate. Kanaaf aadaan Oromoodhaa aadaa adda ta'e. Kanaaf aadaan Oromoodhaa aadaa adda ta'e. Aadaan ofii eenyummaadha. Aadaan ofii daawwitiidha. Amantaadhaan adda taanee loqodhaanis gargar baanu. Garuu aadaa tokko qabna kan addunyaan ittiin beekamnu. Afaan illee tokko qabna kan nuti ittiin walii gallu. Garaa isa fayyaalessaa amala isa jaalalaati. Oromoon koo nama tanu. Oromoon koo nama tanu.
Ganama fanna Oromummaa waloo seertuu seera namoomaa walooma walii gadaan galti namaa walooma ya ilmana ya ila filamen tokomu ya ilmana ya ila filamen tokomu ya lagal taman sitajabe Moga Mogati walalu Shimbir laga Murmuri marmaru Amna karra Karratti walwalu Marbeka waligalu Harki harka Ide wal sakalu Arab
Akkam jirtu dhaggeeffattoota Jirraa Miidiyaa. Kuni segmentii yookaan ijoollee dargaggootaa wajjin yeroo haasaa yookaan mareeti. Baga nagaan dhuftanii. Welcome to Jirraa Media. This is a segment with the youth, our young people, about our culture and language. And so please stay with us and enjoy, comment or question or and just join. Thank you. Welcome, Guddata in Oromia. Go ahead and my name is Lilo. I live in Minnesota. I grew up in Minnesota. I went to high school and college. I have family. So afaan Oromoo maatiin koo kan itti boonee baradhu sitti na barsiisanii. Kanaaf I just wanted to welcome you to maqaa keessanii fi eessa akka jiraattan maal akka hojjettanii wal nu barsiiftu of nu barsiiftu. Oromia, I'll give you more first.
Hi, Oromiyaa Naanjaanii, Minnesotaadhaan jiraadha amma Naayiroobiittiin guddadhe. Amma iskool fixeetiin yuunivarsiitii keessa jira mata dura. Barattuudha, dalagaan dalagu. What else? Afaan Oromoo, mana keessatti afaan Oromoo haasofnaa. We talk in afaan Oromoo in my house. My family, all of us, we talk afaan Oromoo. So I was start like to learn my language, my culture, and everything about us. Because family tia family kapso tuda. So afan kenya hedu javisini hasona, and no matter like when I was in Nairobi, I learned Swahili, but still I was speaking afan Oromo. I came here, I learned English, but still afan Oromo ni hasona. So yes.
Galatoomii hedduu afaan ofii kaawwachuun eenyummaa ofii kaawwachuudha waan ta'eef thank you so much. Go ahead, Gudda, that's your turn.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gudisatfa. I am a student, high school student here in Canada. And I was born in Oromia. When I was young, I had to move to Nairobi, Kenya, similar with Oromia. And from there, I came here to Canada. I'm very happy to be part of this discussion because it's very important to keep your language, your history, and to advocate that worldwide. So, baay'een gammade as dhufuuf.
Hedduu galatoomii guddisaa. Dhugaadha afaan ofii kaawwachuuni, afaan ofii baruuni, aadaa ofii guddifachuuni dirqama eenyummaa ofiiti. Just like akkuma bifa keenya, akkuma rifeensa keenya take care goonu yookaan immoo nagaa keenya sammuu keenya take care goonu afaan keenyallee aadaa keenyallee take care goonee guddifachuuni dirqama keenya. It is our identity, our language, and our Oromummaa and our culture is our identity. So keeping it is very important and crucial, especially in the Western culture. So with that, I have a few questions. I'm not going to make it long. And so our intent is to, for young people in Western or in abroad or and diaspora to be proud of their Oromummaa and keep their language, keep their culture, and preserve it for future, for generations to come, of course. Kanafi, we are going to do mainly in English. And of course, ijoolleen keenya afaan isaanii beeku waan ta'aniif yoo asaanillee if they talk in afaan Oromoo, just listen, learn from them, and be encouraged to keep your language and your culture, okay? Your Oromummaa. So I wanted to ask both of you, of course, in English. So the strength of Oromo youth in abroad on keeping their identity, language, and culture aspect. So what do you guys, what is your thought on our youth in keeping their Oromummaa and their culture, or their Oromo culture in Afaan Oromo in abroad? Like, what is your observation in the community you live in? Of course, Oromia, you're in Minnesota, so you probably have seen a lot. But I want the youth to hear it from you, like what your thought is, what you think about the culture and language aspect of our youth in abroad. One of you can take it.
Okay, so personally, I live like in a white suburbhood, so it's usually white. But the high school I went to, there were some Oromo students, but most of them they were born here or they came here very young, so they speak English. And when they see that I speak Afaan Oromo, they're like, "Oh my God, I don't have friends that speak Afaan Oromo. Oh my God, my mom always speaks to me in Afaan Oromo. I understand it, but I cannot speak it." So I'm like, "Oh, sure, we can talk. I can teach you one or two." And from everything that I've seen, it looks like the kids they don't know how to speak Oromo, or they understand the Oromo but they cannot speak it. And like I don't want to blame the family, the parent, or like the guardian and all of that, but at the same time, like it's their fault because if they speak to the kids in Afan and they are like talk to me back in Afan I feel like the kid would not forget the language. So like in my house, my younger brother he came here when he was 6. To this day, if he tried to say something in English at home, we'll be like, no, Afan tindu baddo. So we are, trying to keep it, but most of the family and that I have seen, they don't speak to the kids in Afan Oromo. In fact, they will themselves try to speak English so they can learn English. In process of the parent learning English, the kids will forget Afan Oromo and just stick to English. But this is basically like making us forget. Language is like the main thing in the culture, one of the main thing, right? So like just because you show up on the culture day wearing your culture, it doesn't make a difference. And like just because you went to Osfana wearing Ada, that's not gonna bring a different like if you don't speak Afan Oromo because you have to speak Afan Oromo. But I feel like from what I seen, I think we need to do better as a community of Oromo. Probably like have something as like I don't know if there is like have some media that can teach the kids Afan Oromo, or like I don't know, but we have to do something because most of the students they are forgetting Afan Oromo. Like I had about 3 or 4 almost students in my school, and none of them speaks Afan Oromo. Only one girl that I made, like she understand and she say like Akamfaya, and I'm like, when did you came here? And she's like, oh, I was 2, and I'm like, okay. So from what I seen, I'm not happy with it, of course. I think we need to do better as like parenting, community, like all of it, because I feel like Afan is like one of the main things.
Thank you, Ramya. It is a very a point you raised very good point, and you actually touched on the next question I have. But go ahead, Gudisa. What is your thought?
Yeah, so I share similar sentiments with Oromia. From my observation, from my experience, uh, it seems like language and culture, because language and culture is so interconnected, you can't learn your culture without language, right? So if language is already a problem, then culture is out the window. So when it comes to culture, I think I've in my community here in Saskatoon, there previously was like a language learning, like a Oromo class on weekends. So we had that. Sadly, that ended. But this kind of thing happens in other communities as well, where they have classes of Oromo classes for kids, especially because those that's your target audience when it comes to teaching culture and teaching language is children. And because it's much easier to shape the mind of children rather than shaping the mind of a fully grown adult. So I think that from my observation is very similar to Oromia. Not many students, young people speak Afan Oromo, especially those who are born here. Uh, and even the ones that are born back home, sometimes they, in the process of learning English and in the process of being at school, 6 hours a day and having new friends that aren't Oromo, uh, that, even them, their Afan Oromo skills also decrease. So I think it should be a community project to keep Afan Oromo and Oromo culture intact instead of only by houses or by families. So I think it should be a community project to do that.
That's very interesting. I like how you say that it's the concept of it takes the village to raise a kid. Um, and the same as like the same thing as keeping the culture. That is very, very important points too, that you brought, Gadisa. Thank you. So Oromia picked up and touched on very crucial points about the struggle in between the family. Try to communicate with their kids, and then kids try, or in the on the way, in the process for getting the language. So for both of you, so what do you think the role of family is then? I know you guys kind of touched it, that it's not the only family that would allow or helps the kids or in Western or in abroad to keep their language. It takes a community. It takes every Oromo to um, keep their language or culture. And so, what do you guys think the role of family then? Especially, uh, the kids spent 6 plus, or sometimes 8 hours in school, come home, and not speaking Afan Oromo. That kind of plays role on forgetting their language. So what do you guys think the role then, like on the social, the social norm in the family, or the role of the family in keeping, helping the kids keep the culture? So I want everyone to hear it from, or we want everyone to hear from you, from like your perspective, because that way, like namni guddan yero jedhu, like, oh, it's just like Oromo kind of blaming other Oromo. But when we hear it from a younger perspective, it helps the adult, mana keessatti fi ala keessatti ijoollee gargaaruu akka danda'an. It helps everyone intact. So what do you think is the role of family should be? Like, Oromia kind of touch it. You can go pick it up from there, Oromia, and then Gudisa.
Okay, oh, I have so much to say on this topic, but I will try to narrow it down. Yes, like when the family comes to America, they don't speak English, most of them, and Afan Kenya, so but one thing I realized is that, in order for you to keep something, you have to be proud of it. In order for you to keep your Oromummaa, you have to be proud of it. And in order, like, I feel like we have this privilege of, like, having our culture, our language, and everything. In between, we forgot, like, what the culture actually means, and, like, what the Oromummaa actually means. So we're just out here, like, thinking, Oromummaan tiyya dhiiga keessa na jirti, like, it's in my blood, so whatever. But no, because if we see, like, the colonization and all of that, just because, like, the blackness is in the part of Africa, like the one that got colonized, they don't have their culture right now. Yes, like, they are black, but they don't know what, or like which one is their culture in Africa. But of course they know they're black. And then Jolene Tenyons, like, they came here and grow up. Yes, their Oromummaa is in their blood, it's in them, but, like, where is it? Like, where is actually it is, like, and as Gadsa already said, like, Afan is, like, one of, the main thing. So I feel like, personally, the family, when they came here, not to say, like, whitewashed, but they will try to, like, learn the culture and everything, and, like, get adapt to the American part. So they will, like, leave behind the Oromummaa part, and then the Oromummaa will only show up when there is, like, oh, Ada, or like something that every Oromo comes up together. That is when Oromummaa shows up, and now everybody is wearing Huchu Ada and show up. But we forget a lot of things. So, for example, like, um like, Jolene will Habaju, like, respecting, okay, this is, like, one of the culture, like, the kids who are born here, they don't know, like, all of that respect. So, like, for example, if elderly person walks in the house, as I grew up in Warata, was like, for me to leave the house, unless, like, my family needs me and for me to be there, because somebody older than me is at home. It's my family, and, like, that person's business for them to talk, and it's not the younger person's place at this point. But kids in America who were born here and all of that, they don't know that. Like, they will just sit on the sofa and the older person is standing and they will just look at you. They are forgetting a lot of things, not just, the afan. And it comes from the family, because in the older the family, like, trying to like adopt the American part, learn afan faranji and all of that, they will leave it behind. So one thing my family does is, yes, my mom cannot speak English. She speaks Afan Oromo, right? When we come home, we talk with her in Afan Oromo. We talk with my mom in Afan Oromo, and for her to learn English, one, she can go to school. Two, she can just speak it at work. And, like with the people, it doesn't have to be like, we don't have to speak in English with my mom in order for my mom to learn English, because in that process, we are trying to gain something that is not ours, that is temporary, and then lose what is ours and what is something like that. At this point, we are Bijanama Jiran, like we're in somebody else's country. The only thing we have is our language, the first thing. The clothes with Chunada, that will come later. That's not the problem. And we are losing the main thing that we have just to gain this, like, okay, I know English. Just to learn English, we're losing ours. And I don't know how to put it in a word, but us learning English, bitamu jiran, like bitamu jiran gizehana, we are literally getting colonized again in a different way, because like afani sani gize barre khenye ramfane. What is that? That's literally the main thing of getting colonized. Because if we go back to history, umaninga fa bitu turande mani afani sani kesan hindubanne sangodan, like, no, don't talk your language, speak like French or English, like whichever country is colonizing them, they will make them speak that language, right? That is the first step of colonizing people. And for us to come here and like just focus on Ingilizanya and then forget about Oromummaa, Afan Oromo, we're literally doing it easy for them. We're making it easy for them. But family, I personally think, mana haisa jolle Afan Oromo tinittiha. So they should definitely talk to them in Afan Oromo. Also, make the kids talk back to you in Afan Oromo. Like, don't be, hey, mal jette, like, oh, she talked to me in Ingilizanya, and then they think it has something very good gize de mani, like when family meet up and be like, Michion Afan Oromo bet Ingilizanya malay. You shouldn't be proud of that. No, don't be proud that your kid doesn't speak Oromo. Waan itti qaanyoo qaban malee itti boonuu qaban himti gizee ilmoon ta'e afaan Oromoo hin beekne. And I'm not saying like, oh, badiida qabdanii jiruudha. Jiruun waan dila nama gooti, laakiin waan irraanfachuu hin qabdu. We're not here to live in America forever. Like, I don't know, but if they want to live here forever and like, if they want to be whitewashed, it's not my business. But afaan keenya irraanfachuu hin qabnu. In order of that, our family, first of all, ijoollee afaan Oromootiin itti haasa'a, akka isaan afaan Oromootiin isinitti haasa'an godha. And then, aadaa barsiisuun, aadaan teetan like, you can literally bring the clothes and make them wear one day. It's easy. But the language is the main thing. So make them speak afaan Oromo at home. And then the other thing they can do is, Oromiyaa dhaquu hin dandeenye, take them to Nairobi. Literally, people speak Afan Oromo in Nairobi, so that way they can learn it too. I will say that much for now.
Thank you so much, Oromia. That speaks a big volume. You're touching the biggest elephant in Oromo community. So continue. I don't want to interrupt, so go ahead, continue, Gatisa.
Yeah, so I think that first we need to look at why people leave in the first place, leave Oromia to come to the West to go abroad, right? So usually the reason for leaving is typically connected to their Oromummaa, right? So that immediately brings to the child, a negative perception of it, because the parent has to leave because of their Oromummaa sometimes. There are many families whose father or the father of the house or the mother of the house is maybe an OLF member, right? And that may be the reason for leaving, or maybe something along those lines, or somebody who protested just one day and got arrested and then all of a sudden had to leave the country just like that. So when situations like this come, the parents are in a state of disbelief usually that all of this happened, so fast, that now they're living in this foreign land that they don't know, whose language they don't fully know yet, and they're not with their family anymore. So it's not only for the children, or it's not only for the parents to teach the children, but for the parents, the family, to understand that the situation is not favorable, but you must at least understand that you can't teach your children Afaan Oromo without bringing a positive influence or a positive perception of the culture itself, right? So you should have that mindset where you want to teach your children Afaan Oromo, even though you may work 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. Your kids go to school 6 to 8 hours a day, right? And that's so much time you're away from your children, right? And then when you're with your children in the evening, you're both tired, right? The kids, they go to school, so they have homework, right? And the parents are always working, so they're tired from work. So in that, I just really urge parents to find the energy in themselves to try and speak a final role with their kids. And even in some cases, lots of parents right now, uh, they've already lived here for some time, so their children have already been accustomed to only speaking English. So I think for that requires more effort, right? Because the children already understand that this is where I live, this is what I know, English is all I know. So for the family to teach culture and to teach Afaan Oromo is to present it in a way that the children want to learn, right? You don't want to be the one coming to your children saying, you must learn this, and then walking away and coming back, you haven't learned Afaan Oromo yet? You didn't teach them, right? So I see it all the time. Like parents say, "Oh, my kid doesn't know Afaan Oromo." Your kid too. These kids. But you didn't teach them. What are you talking about? You didn't teach your kids Afaan Oromo, and you're blaming them? No. So it really requires more effort to teach your children Afaan Oromo, and even though the environment is not helpful, it's not easy. At least you have the freedom to do that, and nobody's telling you you can't do that. But obviously your time is limited. But I think that parents should have that energy, and aside from the parents only, but I think that there should be online some I don't know, cartoons, maybe something like that children want to watch, because when they come home too, they immediately go to their iPad, their TV, right? And they watch cartoons, English cartoons with English culture, whether it be Canadian, American, European, there's all these things. But what I'm saying is that if they're at school, they're learning somebody else's culture. They come home, they watch TV, they're again learning somebody else's culture. Hopefully there can be something where it's not you taking your children away from things they've become accustomed to, but incorporating Afaan Oromo and Oromo culture into these things.
Wow. I could just listen to both of you all day. Honestly, like growing up, so mana keenya keessatti jecha, like an eessuma kootu na guddise waan ta'eefi when we come from home, like he has been here 20 plus years when we came here. Um, we don't talk afaan ingiliffaa manatti gallaan afaan ingiliffaa akka oromiyaan jette afaan oromoo malee haasa'uu hin dandeessu. You can't speak afaan Amharic. I have family that grew up in Finnish that speaks afaan. You can't talk only Oromifa that you talk. I am honestly very, very grateful for that. And also having to know that it makes the point Gudisa made us like make it so proud, like create this a perception. It's your language, it's your identity. Keep it for you, for your good. It's a jet and sana. I learned it from home. It's very important, and also, you know, as a I grew up here and I see, you know, I was fortunate enough in seeing family that like kept their, you know, helped me to keep it. Garu yeroo tokko tokko, like because they're so busy and no energy, like Gudisa mentioned, or like you don't even know your culture because you're trying to learn to make a living and make your life, your kids' life better. And so now you have to work. Now you have to learn English. Now when you go to work, you have to speak like English. So therefore, you come home and practice on your kids. I can see both sides, like the guilt that parents would feel, to be honest, not having enough time because they have to provide. And even when they wanted to sit down and teach, and then at the same time, one pointy Oromian kafte, like I don't like when like, oh, what is that? You know, what does that mean in English? And coming and kind of like ati afaan Oromootiin barsiisurraa ijoolleerraa barachuun um, we can't say it's bad, but that's option they have for most adults that have their kids here or um, uh, like or brought it from back home. Garu, we absolutely family has absolutely important role as both of you mentioned. Given a time, and make us so proud. Afan ke yo bekte, like just be proud of it. Like honestly, and like me looking back, it just gives me a smile. Like it's you, so like make it so exciting to talk Afan Oromo. Okay. uh and when you go like when you try it at home and when kids go outside and other persons like afan oromo bake too, instead of talking afan oromo, condemning the kids not knowing afan oromo kind of discourage them too. So I'm very hopeful that the adults, the parents, the guardians will learn from you to what you guys say, and also the kids would pick up and be proud of like knowing the second language even. And if you go talk to like Oromia mentioned that they wish Oton Afan Oromo Asa, they wish let make a room for them to not wish but practice is I think what I got from you, both of you. Um, and so hopefully that's an encouragement for parents and encouragement for youth to pick up and be proud of their culture and afan sani tinasa o afan sani barachuni. It's a beautiful thing. It's a positive thing. It's their identity. And so then um, uh, Gabruma is a Oromyan jete. It just like hit me so hard. Like Gabruma one brother akambara ni jo linkin of bacon yakabara tanifi funduraf Oromia like anyaka fedanitti asa akadan dani mana kesatti barsisuni dirqama mati akka ta'e ijoolleen kun nutti himaa jiru. So I'm gonna go to the next question. So how how can we I think what Disa mentioned, how can community be supportive to youth? And vice versa, how can youth be supportive to community to teach afaan sani, afaan Oromo, yookaan aadaa Oromoo kana guddisuudhaa fi how can youth be supportive to community and then community be supportive to youth? in order to work together to preserve our culture or afaan Oromoo fi aadaa. You can especially like I love how Oromia puts in afaan kiyyoon beekne ada. You can go put ada ufata ada, and then you're Oromo. All of the sudden you're Oromo and Hirira Naga or Oromo event. Instead of that, like afaan ofii like proudly akkamitti ijoollee barsiisuu dandeenya, communitiin immoo akkamitti ijoollee gargaaruu danda'a, ijoolleen immoo akkamitti community gargaaruu danda'an. Like you can feel free to talk in afaan Oromootiin. What do you guys think? How can we, you guys or youth, can support the community to teach afaan Oromo in community? Support the youth to keep that afaan Oromo or Oromummaa alive and continue.
Okay, so first of all, I believe that you do something when you want to do it, and you do something when you are actually proud of doing it, and like you will do, lubbu teetirraa if keessa gootan when you want to do something. But in our like what's going on with us, I don't think like people are trying to do that. So we have to try it. At the end of the day, we have to try it. So a kind of fakatiti, I will say as a community, we shouldn't like be supportive at each other when it's something bad. For example, as like when family meet up as Gadisa, and then like, oh, Afan Mbeho, he doesn't speak. This kids don't do that. When a mother comes up and say, oh, my kids doesn't speak Afan Romo, the other mother will add up to and be like, yeah, mine doesn't speak too. We shouldn't be like that. Instead, it should be, oh, yours doesn't speak, mine doesn't speak too. Maybe we should try to do this and find a way for them to learn Afan Romo. Or let's say that one of the family speaks Afan Romo, the kids, and the other doesn't. So the one that doesn't speak Afan Romo, if that mother said, oh, my kid doesn't speak Afan Romo, the other should be like, oh, mine speaks a little bit. Let's make them friends. And, let's try to put them together and let them learn. And also, as a community, I feel like we should have some type of like organization or something like that focus on teaching kids the culture and the language instead of like just having other stuff going on. We should have something as a community that, for example, the cartoon that Gadisa mentions, we can have like that type of thing going on, uh, or like have a class, as he said, Saturday and Sunday, or an online thing going on that teaches kids Afan Oromo in an interesting way, in the way that they will be proud of it. Not just, like you can't just be like, okay, let them learn, and the mother doesn't talk to the kids and they are at school 24/7 English, and you cannot expect them to just learn Afan Oromo Lafakani. So we should support each other. I have seen this thing like the kids who came here probably like 2 years after me, so like 3 years since they got here. And that guy, I saw him about a month ago, and the guy goes, I'm forgetting Afan Oromo, and I was like, what? You came here when you were 16, and you've been here for 3 years, and you don't know Afan Oromo in 3 years? Like, what? It didn't add up to me. But the thing is, like, when, for example, I can give like Somali, their kids know Afan Somali. They do. Most of them, like, even if they were born here, they do, because I don't know if you've seen like Somali Mall and all of that as Minnesota High City. You see how like the Somali, they only talk to you in Somali. You're standing there like, how much is this? And they're like, Bokol, like, I don't know Bokol, like, how much is it? They would like force you to, like, know what they're talking about. But for us, we will try, 100, 10, 50. We will like, try to speak the other language. So like we should take example from the Somali community as like they will like bring it up like so proudly, like, yes, I don't know English, talk to me in Somali. That's what they do. But for us, it's like, give me a second, I'm gonna find a translation. Like, no, chill down, be proud of it. Find a family that speaks Afan Oromo. Be friends with people that speaks Afan Oromo. Watch a media. Listen to Oromo music. Like, I am sure there is like a drama Afan Oromo. Watch that instead of just like, focusing on every English movies and all of that. And the community, we shouldn't support each other when somebody's forgetting their language. We shouldn't be like, Afan Ramfate. No. And don't make them feel embarrassed. Like, just because I'm fluent in Afan Oromo, I don't go out and embarrass the other person, but I will try to, be like, okay, I will teach you. Starting from today, I wouldn't talk to you in English. Talk to me in Afan Oromo. That's what I usually do. So, like, we should do this instead of like, I hope I made sense.
Yeah, you are making sense. You are making sense. And taking a pride is your point. And go ahead, Gudisa.
So when talking about the youth and the community, how the youth can help the community, how the community can help the youth, essentially the goal is to develop Oromummaa to the extent where you're almost, up to par with people living in Oromia, right? What happens is with Oromo communities, when you have a child who is born here, for example, let me give this analogy. If you have a tree, okay, think of this. If you have a tree, a big tree, right, a beautiful tree, take it as an ora, okay? Pretend it's an ora tree, and you break a branch off of this tree, and you take it to a new country, and you just leave it on the ground. That branch is going to die soon. That branch will decay because it doesn't have a tree that is connected to roots that'll give it nutrients from the ground. Is the same thing with us here in the diaspora. When you have kids who are born here, they're the branch. They're broken apart from the tree. They're away from the rest of the tree, and they're planted in this new foreign land with a new environment, new weather, right? And you just leave it there on its own. It can't do anything. And in fact, a bunch of branches on its own can't do anything, right? You have to have the connection to the root. So that's up to the older people in the community. That's up to the parents. That's up to the grandparents, the uncles, the aunties. It's up to those people to be that, to be the connection to the root, right? So with that, there are many organizations that help not only in Afan Oromo but Oromo culture. So Osfana brings people together. That's a good thing to see people who look like you, people who can speak Afan Oromo sometimes, and that kind of thing. I've never been to Osfana, but seeing the videos online, it looks great. I'd love to go sometime. Rech also, Rech DC was big last year. I didn't go, but I saw online, right? And it's very encouraging to see these things. And also, I volunteer for Ola. So we actually have language classes for adults and for kids. I think I'm not a teacher assistant for the kid class, but the kid Afan Oromo class is coming up soon. Right now I'm a teacher assistant for the Gada class, actually. So it's an introductory course. So these kind of things are definitely helpful in terms of the community helping the youth, but how can the youth help the community? That's where things like Oyas come in, right? Youth helping youth. And if youth help youth, then that means they're essentially going to help the community in that sense. So I think that for the community to help the youth is to bring their knowledge, their experience to the youth in a way that's interesting and in a way that's intriguing and fun. For example, for me, growing up, I actually came here to Canada when I was 4 years old, so relatively young. I knew a little bit of Afan Oromo. I even knew how to hear Ksali, a little bit, but Sali's completely gone. Don't ask me about that. Uh, but Afan Oromo for me, I remember there was a deep like decrease in how I thought in Afan Oromo, because before I used to think in Afan Oromo, thinking, right? But I come here now, I can tell you today, I think in English. I think in somebody else's language. I don't think in my language. I can speak in my language, but I'm not thinking in my language. I don't know if that makes sense. But that transition is like it had a huge impact on me, and I almost completely lost my Afan Oromo speaking abilities. But my parents, they helped me so much in trying to keep it. There was a thing we have here called Folk Fest. It's like culture shows where cultures all around the world come, and like we were for 2 years that we were a part of it. So I was the like I don't know 6 7 years old at the time, but the rest of the dance group for the culture show was like much older than me. So that was like when you're a little kid, seeing older kids is kind of like, oh my gosh, I want to be like that, right? So that encouraged me a lot. So that's the community helping me and helping those other kids by exposing them to a place where tibonu denda and they can be proud of their culture and show it to the rest of the world, right? Because uh, like there was just so many cultures there. There's Indians there's Pakistanis there were Germans there was like whatever you want, name it, they were there. And that is such a great experience that the Oromo community here in Saskatoon has provided us. Hopefully, we can bring it back again. But from the youth side, I think making groups, Oromo youth associations, I think that's helpful. And uh, I think also along with that, I've kind of dabbled in this a little bit, but book clubs, book like Oromo book clubs, right? Where you're reading specifically about the Oromo, and I think that's definitely a helpful. Even if you don't know Afan Oromo, if you know Afan Oromo, so I think that's how the community should help the youth, and how the youth should help the community.
Thank you so much. It's very touching. The fact what Oromia say when one parent make a mistake of acknowledging that their kids don't know the language Afan Oromo, and the other person to applause it and kind of like exaggerate and say, oh yeah, mine too, and kind of encouraging each other to stay the same way instead of coming up with the solution. And so Romia's suggestion is for the parent to come up with the solution. Akkamitti ijoollee keenya afaan Oromoo barsiisuu dandeenya. Instead of, oh, mucattiin kiyyan beektu yookaan mucaan kiyyan beeku. And then that is very good advice to have as a parent in a Western culture, especially in abroad. Akkuma guddisa you brought the akkuma branch sana, like mukti tokko muka guddaarraa yoo cabe, like it's just ready to die. So it kind of like builds on what Oromia say now. Be the connection, be the person who kind of initiate to talk to the kids in Afan Oromo. Be the connection that they can be so proud to speak their language, and kind of bridge the gap of language learning who they are. And also book club in learning Afan Oromo, and kind of like being involved in a cultural aspect to keep Afan Oromummaa fi aadaa ofii biyya alaa kana keessatti. I appreciate both of you so much, and you guys are so in-depth knowledge, and you guys are appreciated. And of course, both of you will be the future leader, and I wanted to encourage you to keep it and be proud of it. Wanted to know that sometimes it's the smallest thing. Like for me, I read, even from young age, I read my Bible in Afan Oromo. I have two of them, and I sing in Afan Oromo. It's very helpful. Comedy, Afan Oromo, Dhaggeeffachuu, sirba Dhaggeeffachuu, listening to Afan Oromo songs and poetries, like I mean, being involved in cultural events it could help learn. And uh, there's so much to do and ideas out there that even you guys suggested for communities to put together and for youth to be supportive to each other. So I appreciate both of you. I don't want to make it too long. Is there anything you wanted to add? And oh yeah, before I move on to thank you, Gudisa, for a reminder. There's a Gada class that Ola's teaching. I encourage the youth to go learn. We do promote any Oromo language learning or cultural learning as a Jirra media. So, um, in kind of keep your language. Afaan akkam jechuu ta'ee yeroo suuqii dhaqxanii nama suuqii sana jedhutti afaan keessaniin itti haasa'aa jedhan ijoolleen kun. Sumaaliinuu afaan isaaniitiin nutti haasa'anii nuti immoo afaan keenya maaliif warra kaaniin barsiifne jette. Oromiyaan kanaafi we should be able to teach our language other people who don't know our language too. So ijoolleen xixinnoon kun erga nu gorsanii, it's our job as adults to take on that run with the baton. So I appreciate it. Is there anything that you wanted to add? I know Oromia, you say you have a lot to say, and as a fresh, a young person who is grounded in a good way, like afaan kee boonuudhaaf afaan keetti fayyadamuudhaaf as a person, what is your advice, like a positive advice for parents and youth too, in addition to the very depth, very important points you raised?
Okay, I would say, you know, for example, ummata asii kana faranjiin aadaan qaban isaan, aadaan isaanii jechuun like they do have a culture, but like not a culture, because all of them like they came from Europe and then they migrated here like hundreds years ago, so they don't have like culture like we do, and having a culture that is a privilege. Like you should know that that is like, oh my god, wow, I should be proud of it. Be proud of it, not just when like Oromo walik abamte they go protest. No, don't be proud of it just that moment. Don't be proud of your Oromummaa when there is a culture show. Don't be proud of your Oromummaa when like there is Osfana or like anything like that. Be proud of it all the time. And like you don't have to show it to people that you're proud of it, like by posting and stuff. I see like people, like they post about Oromo, this and that, but like they don't even speak upon Oromo. And if you ask them about some stuff about Ada, they don't know anything about it. Don't be like the one that is like, okay, I'm showing that I'm Oromo, but like, you don't know anything about it. Know about it and be proud of it. Like, yes, I am proud of it. And you don't have to prove it to anyone, just for yourself. And Afan Oromo, keep it, because we're not gonna live it forever. I mean, if you wanna live forever, like good for you. But at the end of the day, the main thing we have is Afan Kenya for now, and then ilman kaysan barsisa, nama Afan Oromo beho jolisay bata, wajahasa, barada, and then like don't be like ashamed of it, because if you're not proud of something, of course you're embarrassed of it. So like, and then what I seen is that most of people, they think like, oh, if I speak Afan Oromo, they gonna call me a phob. um the meaning of phob, it's FOB. It means fresh off the boat. So if you so most of the time, like kids, they don't want to speak it because like they think they're gonna get called that. But at the end of the day, who cares? It's you and how you feel inside. So don't care about what everybody has to say, because like family, yes, your mom, your dad, your siblings, some family they're here, but like deep down, and then ogubiyati chidebite. who is gonna talk to you in English? Who? So like learn your language, keep your culture, be proud of it always, not just, you know, 1 or 2 day, the main days. And then if you find friends that speak English, and like if you live, you know, baka I mean Afan Oromo, if you live like Ganda Oromo, Hanakana, be friends with your people. So Malen, like if you will say you know, like you namna khaynagaru, we're not like that. We will all try to be friends with somebody who is, you know, like khaynya khanten Oromo mo na radi si Oromo. Oromo mo na radi si Oromo, and like they become friends with different people, go and adopt a different culture. Try to make people adopt our culture. You know what my mom does? Nyata mana gone baka dalaga gizages, and she teach all of them like nyata khenya, afan khenya, and she speaks to them in afan Oromo. It's like, talk to me in Oromo or like get the hell out of my face. So I have teachers that are trying to speak in Afan Oromo with me to this day. They literally type to me in Afan Oromo. They're like, Akam Nagia Jirtu, and I'm like, damn, you didn't forget it? Because like they saw how I was like deep into it. So make people learn yours too. Don't just learn others and like leave it alone, you know. Be proud of it. And then yeah.
Thank you so much. That was great. What is your advice, Kadisa? You guys are so amazing. I want you guys to come back again. Honestly, I wanna keep in touch. Yeah, of course, I probably know where you live. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Kadisa.
Yeah, it's very good advice from Oromia. All I have to say is that to have your Oromummaa be at the forefront of who you are is to be Oromo. You're not Oromo, you know, just because you wear, you know, fata ada. You know, you can take that off any day you want, right? But I think I just wanted to list some things that you could do, like today, right now, you could do to try to develop your Oromummaa. For those of you who maybe don't know your language, don't know about the Gada system, you know, don't know how rich and how much the Oromo culture has to offer. Because once you find out, you can't stop. You'll be reading every book you find. You'll be talking with your parents. You'll be bothering them all the time. What does this mean? What does that mean? And that's what we want. That's what really we want. So I just say, uh, as I mentioned, Oromo Youth Associations, uh, you know, being a part of rallies, that's something we've been doing. Culture shows, book clubs, I also talked about a little bit. Join Ola also. Like, I'm a volunteer at Ola. I would love to have more colleagues with me. Uh, and then also Oromo medias, just like here, Jirra Media, right? It's an amazing thing you guys are doing here on Jirra Media. There's so many other medias, also Kelo Media, there is OMN, and things like that. And also be a part of being Oromo financially. What do I mean? I'm saying maybe, you know, there are always GoFundMe's for different, you know, causes in Oromia. Sometimes, you know, it's for a burial ceremony or something of that nature. And there are GoFundMe's for these kind of things. Be a part of that. Know that that's your people waiting for your help. And also academically also, you know, OSA, the Oromo Studies Association, like try follow up on what they do, to read their journals. Like what they have is like amazing. All the stuff they have, there's so many journals. And then businesses also support our businesses, right? uh Clothing, there's like so many online clothing businesses that are Oromo made. Well, actually that's one of them, Oromo made it's called. And then there's local, you know, stores, convenience stores and restaurants, things like that. But even though that's things you can do like right now to help develop your Oromummaa, don't forget that to help yourself is to help Oromo. What do I mean by that? I mean that by helping yourself, meaning that, go to school, study, become whatever you want to be, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a professor, whether, it's maybe a computer engineer or something, whatever you want to do that, and try to be the best you can be. Because if you do that, you will be recognized internationally. And once you're recognized internationally, you already have that aspect of you where you're proud of your culture. And you're like, oh, I'm an Oromo scientist. I'm an Oromo a writer. I'm an Oromo author. Something like that. And that is so huge, not only for yourself, but for the Oromo people. People will be like, who's this celebrity that claims to be Oromo, right? Like anybody, like worldwide. And they'd research, they'd Google Oromo, right? And then people find out about the culture. And then that also helps, the Oromo freedom struggle, the self-determination struggle right now we have. So that's what I got to say. Join these things, join these community groups, join these associations and organizations. And don't forget, be the best you can be, because that's being the best for Oromo too.
Oh my gosh. It's just, you guys are so amazing. Thank you so much for that advice and ideas. So much ideas that you put out there, Guddisa. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I wanted to close our interview, and I want you guys to come back next time and we talk, and then we can talk about Gada Sister next time, Guddisa. And thank you both of you for coming. Baay'ee galatoma jabaadha isinis afaan keessanii yeroo hundumaatti haasa'uudhaaf jabaachuudhaaf warra kan barsiisuudhaaf jabaadha isiniin jedha. Hedduu galatoma isin asimaan fidnee jirra. Nagaan nu turaa isiniin jechuu barbaanna.
Ayana warrakoti komo marimutu mata maramoti kada walonga tuka wala babati re buranga yo buracha buraloti kure buranga yo buracha buraloti ya baya ya ilmana ya fila ben komu ya baya ya ilmana ya fila ben komu ya Lagal taman sita jabe moga Bugatti walalu shimbir laga murmuri marmaru nagarra karra karratti walwalu beka waligan harki harka ide wal sakalu arabni gadi wan aradal dalu era umada mama walul Gabona vile waka waluma wala brika ya sorego ya sorora